1923's Season 2 premiere brings back a violent Yellowstone Dutton tradition, and I can't wait for more. 1923's Season 2's premiere felt reminiscent of an unforgettable aspect of Yellowstone, and I hope it carries on in some capacity through the remainder of the series. Brandon Sklenar plays Spencer Dutton in 1923's cast, and in a universe that includes John Dutton i.e., Rip Wheeler, and many more, Spencer manages to be one of the toughest characters we've seen. We've seen him kill leopards, lions, and sharks, and now he's getting in the business of hand-to-hand combat, hoping to earn enough money to afford a train back to Montana. Unlike Yellowstone, which takes place primarily on the Dutton Ranch and surrounding areas of Montana, 1923's story so far has partially transpired overseas. Spencer Dutton and his now-wife, Alex Dutton, spent much of Season 1 in Africa, and they're now taking separate journeys from Europe to reunite in America. The journey will be perilous for both, but that's part of what makes the Yellowstone prequels so compelling. The modern-day Duttons in Yellowstone experience danger, but the threats aren't nearly as consistent as they were in the ranch's early days. 1923 Season 2, Episode 1's ending saw Spencer Dutton and his new companion, Luca, develop a scheme to generate income while on the ship overseas. Spencer needs money for his train ride to Montana, and he's begun betting on fights to get him there. He's won so far, generating some quick income, but it seems doubtful that matters will continue to be easy for the Dutton heir. Regardless, the fistfights immediately reminded me of the organized brawls on the ranch in Yellowstone. The fights between Lloyd and Walker, Rip and Case, and Beth and Summer were some of the most brutal confrontations in the entire show, seeing characters settle matters with their fists. The fights Spencer is partaking in aren't quite as dramatic on a personal level, as we don't know the people he's knocking down. That said, it still demonstrates critical aspects of the toughness required to be a Dutton. Be it 1923 or Yellowstone, the Dutton family live in a Wild West among civilized society. Fistfights aren't just entertainment action in these shows. They're a demonstration of a way of life. Dutton tradition is to defend the family land with sweat and blood, and to lead the ranch. One requires a particular grit and toughness. Spencer Dutton is the ideal leader over someone like Jack because he's controlled but can also get down in the mud, showing just how primal the Dutton family really is despite all their wealth and land. The highly anticipated second season of 1923 is upon us, and with it comes the return of a brutal yet essential Yellowstone Dutton tradition, violence as a means of survival. If the first season taught us anything, it's that the Dutton family's legacy is written in blood, sweat, and gunpowder, and Season 2 wastes no time reminding us of that grim reality. From the opening scene, 1923 Season 2 plunges viewers back into the lawless, unforgiving world of early 20th century Montana. Jacob Dutton, Harrison Ford, still bearing the scars of last season's brutal attack, rides into town with a grim determination. The ranch is in peril, and the only way to secure the family's future is through sheer force, a philosophy passed down through generations of Duttons, from 1883 to Yellowstone itself. It doesn't take long for the season premiere to reignite the blood feud that has been simmering since last season's devastating finale. With Banner Creighton, Jerome Flynn, still scheming for power and the looming threat of corporate greed encroaching on their land, the Duttons find themselves at war on multiple fronts. And in classic Yellowstone fashion, this means one thing: violent retribution. One of the most shocking moments of the episode comes when Jacob, now fully recovered and hardened by past betrayals, gathers his men and delivers a chilling message to their enemies. In a scene reminiscent of Kevin Costner's John Dutton on Yellowstone, Jacob makes it clear that threats to his family and land will not be tolerated. But unlike the modern-day Duttons, who often rely on legal maneuvering and political influence, Jacob's era demands a more direct approach, one that involves bullets, bloodshed, and unwavering ruthlessness. The show does not shy away from the brutality of the time. In one particularly harrowing sequence, Jack Dutton, Darren Mann, is caught in an ambush, a moment that echoes the near-fatal attack on John Dutton in Yellowstone Season 3. But where John survived and retaliated with calculated vengeance, Jack and his fellow cowboys are forced to fight tooth and nail to survive in the wild, lawless frontier. This callback to Yellowstone's tradition of ambushes, gunfights, and eye-for-an-eye justice reminds us why the Duttons are feared and respected. But it's not just the men of the Dutton family who carry on this violent legacy. Cara Dutton, Helen Mirren, remains a formidable force in her own right. While she may not wield a gun as readily as her husband, her sharp wit and steely resolve make her just as dangerous. In one standout moment, she delivers a veiled threat to a local politician who dares to challenge the family's claim to their land. It's a scene that calls back to Beth Dutton, Kelly Riley, in Yellowstone, a woman who knows that power is not just taken with force, but also with intellect and strategy. Of course, the violence in 1923 isn't just for spectacle. It serves as a stark reminder of the cost of survival in the American West. Unlike in Yellowstone, where the Duttons battle corporate tycoons and land developers, 1923 portrays a world where law is fleeting, and justice is often dealt by the barrel of a gun. This season, more than ever, underscores the idea that the Duttons are not just ranchers. They are warriors fighting for their way of life. As the episode draws to a close, it becomes clear that the second season of 1923 is doubling down on the violent traditions that have defined the Yellowstone universe. The final moments see Jacob standing over a fresh grave, his expression unreadable. Another enemy has been vanquished, but at what cost? The weight of the Dutton legacy is a heavy one, and with each violent encounter, the family inches closer to becoming the very thing they seek to protect themselves from: ruthless, blood-stained outlaws. If this premiere is any indication, 1923 Season 2 is not just embracing the violence of its predecessors. It is reveling in it, exploring its necessity, its consequences, and its role in shaping the Dutton dynasty. And as a fan of this brutal, unflinching storytelling, I can't wait to see how far they'll go to protect what's theirs. As the episode draws to a close, it becomes clear that the second season of 1923 is doubling down on the violent traditions that have defined the Yellowstone universe. The final moments see Jacob standing over a fresh grave, his expression unreadable. Another enemy has been vanquished, but at what cost? The weight of the Dutton legacy is a heavy one, and with each violent encounter, the family inches closer to becoming the very thing they seek to protect themselves from: ruthless, blood-stained outlaws. If this premiere is any indication, 1923 Season 2 is not just embracing the violence of its predecessors. It is reveling in it, exploring its necessity, its consequences, and its role in shaping the Dutton dynasty. And as a fan of this brutal, unflinching storytelling, I can't wait to see how far they'll go to protect what's theirs.